Hello everyone, this is part 1 of What If Naruto Was Reborn as a Shinigami. This story is made by pudgypudge, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Naruto sat on the ground beside his body and tried to keep the tears from flowing. He had tried so hard to bring Sasuke back for Sakura and yet nothing ever went right. Now here he was, or close to it, face down in the mud from a Chidori to the heart. He hadn't been fast enough to dodge this time. He looked across the field to find Sakura helping along a limping Kakashi. His only regret was that he couldn't bring that idiot back for her. No, that wasn't true. He had other regrets. Never seeing his friends' faces again, never eating ramen again, never training to exhaustion again, never seeing Bar-chan again. There was so much regret and nothing could be done. He watched as they picked up his body with no words exchanged between them. Guess in the end I wasn't even worth a few final words. Wonder when the Shinigami will get here. A bright light seemed to engulf the field they were in and Naruto looked to see if Sakura and Kakashi had noticed it. They just kept walking, away from him and out of his life. He closed his eyes one last time and let the tears fall freely. His last hurrah had been a big bang at least. If he ever did anything right, he took the fox with him. His lips barely turned up at the corner of his mouth and he opened his eyes to find pure white everywhere. No matter which way he turned, it was white except for a fox-shaped mark of black underneath him. Everywhere he walked, the mark stayed with him, right underneath him. Interesting, isn't it? He whipped around to find the source of the voice and saw a girl his age standing behind him. She didn't look older than 17 and yet, she had a wizened look to her, like she had seen it all and done it all. An aura of calm exuded from her and Naruto felt at peace. If death included pretty girls like this one, he was okay with S. He seated his head and stared at the beauty in front of him, studying her. Her hair was black and hung in curls down to her mid-back. Her skin was pale and yet seemed luminescent and warm. The smile that graced her face was almost motherly in a sense, and Naruto felt safe when he looked at her. Surely this girl meant him no harm. Who are you? Where is this place? Why am I here? Am I S? One question at a time, young one. Now what do you want answered first? Young one. I'm sorry miss, but you look as old as me. The girl laughed at this and it was melodious, the laughter seeming to hang and tinkle in the air. It was enjoyable. You flatter me, young man. My age cannot be measured in numbers. I guess you could say my age is infinity. Are you an angel? Better. You mortals know me as Kami. Naruto's eyes widened and the look that crossed his face caused Kami to look at him with distress. The orange-clad ninja immediately fell to his knees and hung his head. Perplexed, Kami asked him what he was doing. Forgive me, Kami-sama, I meant no disrespect. I am sorry, please forgive me. I am not worthy to be in the presence of one such as you with all the blights on my soul. Please pass judgment on me and let me be on my way to wherever you deem fit in hell. Kami frowned at this. Was this what mortals did to each other in their spare time? Tear each other down until they questioned their own self-worth and were willing to damn themselves for sins they never committed. Why do you say those things, Naruto? Surely you don't believe that. The spots on my soul are from the fox. I know this. It's been explained to me several times that I am bound to the fox and he to me. Our souls are bound together and therefore his sins are my sins. Nothing I could do would make up for his sins and therefore I deserve to be punished. Please Kami-sama, I deserve no less. Kami strode the distance to the young man on his knees and knelt in front of him. She offered a small smile and placed her hand on his cheek. When he still wouldn't lift his gaze, she cupped his chin and lifted his eyes to hers. He kept his eyes screwed shut, tears streaming down his cheeks. Her heart ached to see a child such as him, a human ready to accept punishment for things he never did. His place in heaven had been assured long ago. Naruto, open your eyes and look at me. Let me tell you where we are right now. We are at the junction between the living and the S. You are neither S nor alive right now and you are not being judged. True, Your soul is bound to the foxes, but only as two prisoners are fettered together at the ankle. One prisoner does not answer for the deeds of the other, they are merely chained together until their jailer brings the key. I am sorry, Naruto, but your key is not yet ready to be used. You must keep your burden a while longer. Now rise and speak with me. I have something to ask of you. Naruto stood and wiped the tears from his face. He looked at Kami apologetically and asked where they were. We are in a plane made of your soul. You have heard of yin and yang, correct? The light contains some dark and the dark some light. This is how balance is kept. Where we stand and all around us is your soul, Naruto. The fox-shaped blemish on your soul is that of Kyuubi, and he stays under you because he is bound to you. Look around you, Naruto, and you will find that your soul is pure with nearly no blemish. You are as pure as they come, and that is why you are perfect for the task I must set before you. What is it you seek of me, Kami-sama? Ask and I shall do anything you require of me. Kami smiled, seeing that the boy she had watched since he was young was slowly coming back. Deciding to act the part of a young girl for a moment and not the benevolent creator, she joked with him. Burn that outfit. It's hideous. Naruto stood with wide eyes and wider mouth, making Kami giggle. When he spoke it was hesitant and faltering. But orange is your gift to the world, Kami-sama. Why would you want me to destroy something as beautiful as my suit? Oh Naruto, you can't take a joke. That isn't my request. Although I do wish you would get rid of that thing, and I will send someone later to tell you what I wish you to wear as my emissary on Earth. I need you to find a certain soul and send him to me. His crimes are of a heretical and most unholy nature. You will act as my liaison and claim his soul for me. You want me to act as a Shinigami. Don't you already have someone for that job? Of course, but he has to follow certain rules, unlike you. I give you full reign to act as you see fit. Consider the power I give you as another test on your life and soul. When you return after your life is over, we shall see if the fox is the only visible blemish on your pure soul. Now then, I'm going to give you a weapon to help you on your path. You'll receive it when you regain consciousness and are ready. I'm not ready now. No, you will be weak when you wake up. Rest and gain your strength. When I think you are prepared, I will send my messenger to deliver my gift and help you choose clothing appropriate for my emissary. Goodbye for now, Naruto. We will see each other soon. The next thing Naruto knew, he was back in his body and it felt heavy and his breathing was labored. His eyes fluttered open and he saw light filtering in through a window. He was lying in a bed in the hospital and he was hooked up to various machines. He slowly turned his head to look at the bedside table. No cards or anything greeted him. He sighed. It was always the same. He might have friends, but they were too busy to visit him. He closed his eyes and lay back again. Might as well rest up and get ready for what lay ahead. His rest was short-lived when he heard familiar footsteps clomping down the hall and knew he was in for a tongue lashing. Tsunade opened the door and stood at the end of the bed, checking Naruto's chart. She seed an eyebrow and sighed. Naruto, you're not fooling anyone. I can see by the heart rate monitor that you're awake. We need to talk. Naruto cracked one eye open and stared at Tsunade. He loved the old woman to death, but he really just wanted to rest for once. He'd been through a lot in the past few days, and that dream about Kami was kind of unsettling. He didn't know if he believed it or not. He didn't remember coming back to Konoha. Perhaps he never left and it was all just a dream. All right, Bar-chan. What do you want to talk about? Your battle with Sasuke. What happened? Sakura and Kakashi didn't tell you. He espered me through the chest with a Chidori. End of story. I passed out and they drug me back, I guess. Well, you should be good to go in a couple of days. You can be released then. Rest until then, you hear? I'd like nothing better. I mean it, Naruto, you'd better. Did you just agree with me? Yes. Don't go insane on me, brat. I can't be the only sane one in this hellhole of a village, all right. I need you to stay with me. I'm not going anywhere, Bar-chan. I'm right here with you, forever. Tsunade softened her glare when he said that. No matter how much she hated the moniker Bar-chan, it still made her feel good that he viewed her as a normal person and not the Hokage. Just get rested, kiddo. We need you out there again. Hi. I think for once I will take it easy. 3 days passed and Tsunade finally released Naruto from the hospital with the condition that he take it easy, and not overtrain or overexert himself. He stood in the training grounds of Team 7 going through the motions of trying to loosen his muscles back to trainable condition. It would take some time, but he'd be back to top form in a couple of days. He felt a presence behind him and turned to see a man in white robes, his short brown hair blowing in the breeze, but there was no breeze. On his shoulder was a massive hammer, a war hammer, the likes of which had never been seen. He smiled at Naruto and offered a hand. Hello young one. My name is Sanosuke. I am the go-between for you and Kami-sama. I hope to be good friends with you. You have a lot of promise, you know. Naruto, meanwhile, was staring blankly at the man. He had hardly heard a word. He could only think that it hadn't been a dream, it was real, it was all real, he had actually met Kami. His gaze swung from the man to the massive war hammer on his shoulder and took in its weird look. It wasn't fancy by any means. The head of the hammer was a simple block of steel with golden bands around both ends. The handle was steel and it seemed that the entire hammer was poured from the same mold. Leather thongs wrapped around the hilt of the handle and formed a comfortable grip. Sanosuke smiled at Naruto and swung the hammer to the ground where it impacted and made a crater. How heavy is that thing, Sanosuke? It must weigh a ton. Hi, it does. But to you it will be as light as a feather. It is made especially for you and is a holy weapon. This is one of Kami's gifts to you. If you prove worthy of her time, she will bestow upon you the remaining gifts. You are to learn how to use this hammer from your soulmate. She will guide you in its use and you will be happy in your life. But Sakura-chan doesn't wield weapons. She can't teach me how to use it. Sanosuke scowled at the mention of her name and thumped the hammer on the ground again, gaining Naruto's attention. Now see here Naruto, the world does not revolve around your pink-haired friend. She is not your soulmate. There is another out there who is worthy of your time and devotion. She can train you in the art of weaponry. You know her already, she is here in this village. Wait a second. Soulmate. I already told Neji I don't believe in fate, so why would I believe that I'm destined to be with a certain someone? You already think that, you fool. You keep pining over Sakura and she wouldn't be seen with you in public in that light. Your soulmate waits for you. You'll know who she is by the tightening of your heart and a deep connection. Have her teach you kenjutsu, it will help you to wield the hammer better. They're basically the same property anyway. But why a hammer? Why not a sword? Sanosuke smiled at his young charge. He wasn't as stupid as he let on, he just refused to acknowledge the obvious. It wasn't stupidity that held Naruto back, it was inattentiveness and immaturity. This hammer is young Naruto, it was only recently made and it was made for you. We made it fashioned after your soul. Right now the hammer is blunt and dull, screaming for attention with the two golden bands, and since you have no knowledge of how to wield it, it will be a challenge to train. This reflects you in your earlier years. You had promise, just as this hammer has promise. I told you it is a holy weapon and that is true, but it is also connected to you at the soul. As your soul evolves, so shall the hammer. You mean it'll change on its own? Yes, overnight while you sleep it will begin its transformation. It will begin to reflect your soul now. Now come and accept your weapon Naruto, we have something else to do. Naruto strode forward and hefted the hammer with ease. He was amazed at how light it was and swung it a few times to get a feel for it. Noticing that Sanosuke was getting antsy, he swung the hammer to his shoulder and grinned. So what's task number 2? Sanosuke grinned evilly at the young man before him, causing Naruto to begin to sweat. This part would be his favorite. He thanked Kami-sama for the opportunity to rid the world of yet another eyesore. I'm the one who's also taking you clothes shopping. You must dress appropriately if you are to be Kami-sama's liaison in this world. Nothing but the best, and I have just the idea for your battle garb. Come. Naruto took the stairs in stride as he and Sanosuke walked to the tailor. It was usually bad enough, but since he was carrying a giant war hammer, he was really getting looks now. He sighed and just kept going. Hopefully, Sanosuke wouldn't tee him too bad with dorky clothes. His traveling companion just trudged along, thinking about all the things to make his charge look like a servant of Kami, to look more like an angel. The man in the clothing store raised an eyebrow at the two men and politely asked Naruto to leave his weapon of mass destruction outside the store. The looks of the villagers when the massive weapon hit the ground was priceless, and Naruto hung around at the door for a moment to watch some try to pick it up. When even the biggest man around couldn't budge it, He was satisfied that his holy weapon was safe and that no one else could touch it. He stepped back into the entrance and found Sanosuke talking to the tailor, who seemed intrigued by the man's ideas. Do you understand what I want? It must be in the design I gave you and of the best material. Price is no object. Until the battle gear is prepared, however, we need some temporary clothing to get rid of this abomination. What do you have in simple shinobi gear? We have many things, sir. Anything in particular you would like? Just size him up for everything in black. Loose, but fitting, and get him some actual boots instead of sandals, steel-toed if possible. He'll thank me later. Now then, Naruto, kindly let the man measure you so we can get this over with. He informed me that once measurements were taken, your battle garb would be finished within the week. He'd call for you then and you can pick it up. How am I going to pay for all this? I don't have enough on me to cover it. Do not worry, young one. Kami will provide. Have faith in Kami. His measurements were taken without fail and Naruto was starting to get just a bit agitated. He hated sitting still in one spot so often, but he had been strangely serene in the past few days, like he had calmed down slightly. Sanosuke noticed the conflict within the boy and spoke up. I see you have noticed that you can think a bit more clearly than before. Your meeting with my master did that. She has a most calming effect on the mind, and in your case it seemed to help your cognizant thought process. You should meditate and try to talk to her again. I believe it would be beneficial. Perhaps. I might try it later tonight. I like the feeling of being able to think clearly. It's nice. Indeed. I must go now, Naruto. I shall see you again soon, I hope. Remember what I said about your soulmate. Find her and cherish her. Do not let yourself be taken in by false hope of a love that can never be requited. Goodbye for now. And the man disappeared without a puff of smoke or anything. He just ceased to exist on this plane. No smoke. I'll have to get him to teach me that when I see him again. The week passed quickly for Naruto and he spent it in seclusion for the most part, training by himself in a remote part of the village, finding out how to at least basically handle the holy weapon before he sought out his soul mate. When he grew bored, he meditated, trying to reach Kami and talk with her once more. She must have deemed him not ready to speak to her again, since he never contacted her or Sanosuke once. At the end of the week he got a summons to come back to the tailor. His battle garb was ready and he had several of them made. He had worried about how to pay for his new clothing, but as Sanosuke said, Kami will provide, and the money mysteriously made its way into his bank account. He took the wrapped bundle of cloth and made his way back to his apartment to try on his new look. Deciding he didn't want to get his clothing dirty just yet, Naruto took a shower and let the water cascade over him, washing away his troubles. He smiled as he thought about his hammer. He simply left it outside his apartment, since no one was strong enough to steal it. He chuckled as he thought about the looks on people's faces when he swung it to his shoulder and walked off like it was a feather. I love messing with people. His shower over, he stepped out and opened the bundle. What he saw brought a smile to his face. While his temporary clothes, as Sanosuke called them, were plain, they still looked good on him, better than the orange. His new battle garb made him look like an angel. It consisted of white pants and a white gi made of silk that flowed about his body. A blood-red sash tied at the waist that seemed to move of its own accord held the gi together. The small breeze generated by the air conditioning system made the sash flap and flutter like he stood in a hurricane. It was no doubt there to draw the attention of the enemy. What surprised him the most, however, were the markings on the back of all the gis. A yin-yang circle encompassed most of the back, but instead of a dot showing the good or evil, there was the body of a nine-tailed fox, its tail splayed out on display. He fell in love with it instantly. He may hate the fox, but this was obviously Kami approved and there was nothing wrong with that. He smiled and laid the clothing out for use the next morning. He definitely surprised Tsunade when he showed up in her office. True to form, Naruto kept turning heads as he walked through the streets carrying his monstrous hammer. It hadn't changed yet, like Sanosuke said it would, but then again, good things come to those who wait. Nothing the angel had said had been a lie yet, so perhaps he just underestimated how the hammer was evaluating Naruto's soul. Naruto did notice that not all the looks were glares, however. More than a few girls were blushing and he could just faintly hear them whispering about the hot blonde guy. He smirked and kept going to the Hokage Tower. Today was gonna be a good day. Tsunade was busy with her paperwork for once when she heard Shizune arguing with someone outside the door. Focusing some chakra to her ear, she listened in. Don't care, you're not bringing that thing in there. Leave it outside, Naruto. I'm not playing around. If you drop it, it's going to go through all the floors. I'm not gonna drop it, Shizune, it'll stay on my shoulder the whole time. And besides, Bar-chan's a busy woman. I'll just show her what I got and be on my way. No big deal. Now let me through. Put that hunk of metal back outside. Shizune, move. Well, that was a shocker. Naruto is never forceful with Shizune. She usually gets her way by bossing him around like an older sister, but the brat must have something important to tell if he resorted to yelling at her. Tsunade's thoughts were broken as the door opened and Naruto had to duck to get inside. Shizune followed him, to remind him not to drop the damn thing and put a hole in the floor. One destructive blonde in the Hokage office was enough. Her piece said. Shizune left out in a huff. Naruto sighed, he'd have to do something nice for her later for yelling at her. He turned to address Tsunade but found her instead poking and prodding his hammer. What the hell is this thing, Naruto? Have you and Tenten been playing around in the old weapons shed again? No, and we don't play around in there. We search for old weapons that she can resharpen or remold into better weapons. This is mine. It's a holy weapon given to me by Kami. Since when did you become religious, kid? I didn't. It's a gift from Kami to help me find a certain soul she wants. It's enchanted so only I can pick it up. Here, try to lift it off my shoulder. Try as she might, Tsunade couldn't budge the damn thing. And she had picked up Gamabunta's Kodaki. The thing must be enchanted. But how Naruto ended up with an enchanted weapon was beyond her. Damn, kid had all the luck. Well, the weapon is dull like you, but what about the clothes? I like the new style, Naruto, it's definitely you. Thanks, it was a gift from a new friend. He said my jumpsuit was hideous and burnt it once I got my new clothes. Well, where is he? I want to give him pay for an S-rank mission. That's been on the pay scale for quite a while to rid the world of that damn jumpsuit, and someone finally had the balls to do it. You know, I've actually outlawed the sale of orange jumpsuits in Konoha because of you. But orange is the color of the gods. It's a gift from Kami herself. Herself. I thought Kami was a guy. Naruto shrugged and gave a sheepish grin. She appeared to me and told me that she was neither, but I'm more at ease around women, so she appeared as a young girl. Real cute too. Too bad she's so much older than me, she'd be worth the effort. You'd actually hit on Kami. Naruto, you're insane. But that's what I like about you. Now get out of here and go train with your weapon. I have things to do. Before I get out of your hair, I have a favor to ask. I need time off to find my soulmate, who's going to train me in the way of using the hammer by teaching me Kenjutsu. Okay. Tsunade just raised an eyebrow and nodded dumbly. First the kid defies death, now he's Kami's right-hand man or something. F this job, I'm too old for this S, she thought. Hitting the page button on her intercom, she called Shizune. Shizune, bring some sake and 2 cups. I think you and I are going to need to be spaced before the day is over. A soft voice came back over the intercom and Tsunade was surprised to hear her assistant answer in such a manner. After seeing that big-ass hammer he's lugging around, I went and bought a few bottles of good stuff. I think you and I are going to be holed up doing paperwork for quite a while. Ah, Tsunade thought, good old Shizune. She always comes through. And damn that brat for always giving me a headache. It was then Tsunade realized her mistake and slammed her head on the desk. She'd let the little bastard have an indefinite amount of time off, in the village, with nothing to do but train and look for his soulmate. She groaned audibly. That pile of paperwork was going to be a mountain with that kid running loose. Naruto strode through town, wondering who his soulmate could be. He knew her obviously, but who could it be? He knew a lot of people and a lot of them were good with Kenjutsu. Deciding to worry about it later, he made his way to the training grounds and began to swing the hammer around wildly, not knowing anything about grace. It just wasn't his style, and he still lamented the fact that he was given a hammer instead of a sword. A sword was sharp and pointy, able to do massive damage. What could this thing possibly do that a sword couldn't? It was so plain and dull. Naruto sat down in the middle of the field cross-legged with his elbow on one knee and his chin in his hand, the other hand holding onto the massive hammer. He looked out of the corner of his eyes at it and took it in one more time. The handle was a good 4 feet long and seemed to flow into the head. The head of the hammer was massive, roughly 2 feet by 2 feet square and about 3 feet long. It was no wonder he kept getting odd looks in town. He closed his eyes and thought about his situation now. He already had so much on his plate, what with saving Sasuke, and now he was expected to locate a renegade soul. He let go of the hammer and held his head in his hands. He was 16 years old. He held a demon that could destroy civilizations in his navel. He had just been informed by Kami herself that Sakura was not meant for him. It hurt, but he'd have to get over her and move on. He still had to save Sasuke for her. He'd made a promise and he never went back on those. He had to find his soulmate and learn the art of the sword so that he would be able to wield his hammer properly. Why did it always feel like the weight of the world was on his shoulders? Sighing heavily, he opened his eyes to find the world pitch black. It was night. He had been thinking so hard he hadn't noticed that night had fell. It was time to go home. Perhaps tonight his hammer would change. He swung the hammer to his shoulder and walked off toward his apartment. Naruto set the weapon down outside of his building with a loud thud and walked up the stairs. As he opened the door, he felt a presence and whipped 2 kunai at the shadowy figure. He heard the audible thump of the knives hitting home, flicked on the light, and found Sanosuke there with the kunai in his chest and a scowl on his face. Naruto grinned sheepishly as the angel removed the knives and bemmed the ruination of his shirt. I just had this thing cleaned, Naruto. Can you be any more problematic? Well, I'm sorry, but you surprised me. I couldn't help it. What are you here for anyway? I want to know why your hammer hasn't changed yet. It should have made its first change, and where is your hammer? Oh, I left it downstairs. I don't want it falling through the floor. You idiot. That's why it isn't changing. You have to sleep with it in your hand. What in the hell made you think it could change if it wasn't by you? You may be connected at the soul with it, but you still have to have contact with it to make the change. And you wonder why everyone calls you an idiot. I'm not stupid. You don't think before you do things. Sigh, Naruto, just get the hammer and sleep at the training grounds tonight. Sleep with the hammer in your hand and don't let go. If you prove yourself worthy by changing the hammer, I'll give you the other gift a little early. Is it another cool weapon? No, it isn't cool, but it is a weapon, perhaps more important than the hammer. I won't tell you what it is though until you change the hammer. Now get going. Oh Kami, why do you make me deal with these idiots? The angel disappeared into thin air and Naruto grumbled while retrieving his hammer. He had just come from the training grounds and he didn't really want to sleep outside tonight. A shower and his bed sounded so much better, but he had to change the hammer. He trudged back to the training grounds and stopped at the first one he came to. He didn't care whose it was, they could wake him in the morning if he was in the way. He flopped down on the ground and stared at the stars. He held the hammer at his side and hummed while he twirled it in his hand. After a short time he began to yawn and eventually nodded off, his hand wrapped tightly around the hilt. It wasn't long before a weird dream started. In the dream Naruto was all alone and everything was black. Then came a bright light and the world was white and it reminded him of his soul when he spoke to Kami. Then came the people and there were crowds of them, but no matter how much he tried to get their attention, they ignored him and kept walking. He noticed that they all stared down and behind him as they walked by, before turning their noses up and continuing onward. Curious, he looked behind him to find that his shadow was that of a fox and no matter where he ran it followed, its 9 tails billowing behind it. Out of the crowd stepped an old man with a kind face, smoking a pipe with a funny hat on his head, and he was kind to Naruto, offering him encouragement. Naruto smiled at the old man and felt his heart lighten. He turned to his shadow and if it wasn't just his imagination, the fox had shrunk slightly. He turned around to face the old man and found another man there, this one younger with his hair pulled back into a strange ponytail. He also was kind to Naruto, but he was stern, demanding better from him than he offered. The rest of the crowd walked on by, but Naruto was content for the moment, he was at least noticed. Out of the crowd stepped another man, a young girl, and a young boy, and while they wouldn't talk to Naruto, they acknowledged his existence and stood staring at him. A little boy walked up and Naruto felt what was awe and admiration coming from him, and the fox shrank a little more. Next came a figure whose silhouette Naruto would never forget as long as he lived. It was that of an effeminate young man, and though he could not see the eyes, the sad smile told him everything he needed to know. Naruto's heart ached and he nearly cried. This had been the closest thing he had ever had to a friend, someone who could understand him, but as quickly as the boy appeared, he vanished, leaving a saddened Naruto, and the fox grew a little again. Out of the constantly surging crowd stepped 6 figures, kids his age, and they all acknowledged him. 3 more emerged, and one held for him a respect that only those who have bled and fought for acknowledgement could hold. This one was a friend he would treasure forever. The other boy held contempt for him while the girl was neutral. She felt nothing, but she noticed him. Behind the 9 children appeared 3 more adults, and they stared at him with kindness. And the fox shrank more. Then came 3 familiar figures, 2 more boys and a girl, but one boy strode forward and faced him with a maniacal grin, the shadow of a tanuki behind him. The 2 stood and their shadows fought for a moment, the fox and tanuki shades becoming more and more massive, before they both receded, and the 2 boys looked at each other and smiled, knowing they had found someone who shared their pain. It was at this time that Naruto felt a pain in his heart, and he saw the old man fade away, a sad smile on his face. In his place stepped another figure, a tall, broad-shouldered man with long hair. From behind him came 2 more women, and they looked at him and he was happy. These 3 saw him for who he was. And the fox shrank further. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the first boy begin to fade until he was little more than an apparition, there in spirit but gone from his life. His shadow still remained though, letting Naruto know that he could be saved, but the effort and cost would more than likely be great. The girl standing beside the boy saddened and looked about to cry. Naruto could do nothing but look on and feel helpless. And the fox grew a tiny bit. Then all the figures disappeared except the tall, long-haired man, and he and Naruto began to walk through the crowd. They walked and walked for what seemed like forever, and Naruto felt himself grow, the ground seeming to get further and further from his eyes, and the shadow of the fox grew as he did. The figures all came back, except now they were bigger, more mature, and they all looked on him kindly. He had made strides and now had more friends. The apparition of the boy had grown as well, but it had darkened as if tainted by evil. This confused Naruto, and he wanted to save the boy. Before he could think, the boy with the tanuki shadow blinked out of existence, and Naruto rushed to where he was, his heart heavy. As fast as he disappeared though, he reappeared, this time without the shadow of the tanuki, and Naruto was happy for his friend. He was a survivor. Out of all the figures though, he noticed that one seemed to be brighter or perhaps more defined than the others. The bun-haired girl that reminded him of a panda smiled at him, and he felt his heart lighten. Things shifted again however, and another person showed up. This person was kind and patient with him and had a strange forehead protector. Along with him came a figure that reminded him of the apparition, but he had no personality and seemed to be fixated on Naruto's L. While annoying, Naruto could see that all he needed was a friend to show him the way, and so he made his peace with the strange figure. Then one of the adults blinked out of existence and didn't return, and 3 of the figures his age were saddened deeply. One of the adult women, who was with child now, was also saddened by this. And the fox grew a bit more. The scene changed again, and Naruto found himself, the first girl, and the first boy together again, but under dire circumstances. The shadow of the boy was dark and radiated evil, and in the shadow stood a completely dark figure, its soul so tainted with evil that the figure itself could not be seen, but it was identified by the way it held itself and its indistinguishable outline. The fox grew and grew until it threatened to overtake Naruto, but the man with the strange headgear saved him, and the girl wept for him, and the fox receded. The scene changed one last time, and Naruto found himself once again in front of the first boy. They fought and fought, neither having the advantage until Naruto, in his pity, didn't finish his blow, and the boy once again tried to K him. He remembered his meeting with Kami and meeting Sanosuke and getting his hammer. The outline of the one who was to be his soulmate flashed before him one last time before everything went dark again. And the fox was smaller than ever. In the blackness, Naruto floated, thinking over what he had seen. He knew only one thing, and it was undeniable. I love you all, and yet, I am strong without you. People come and people go, and though my heart is heavy when you leave, it repairs itself and I too continue on. Forgive me everyone, but I can no longer continue to play the fool for you. My soul and others depends on me succeeding in whatever Kami puts before me, and I cannot fail. I make a solemn vow to you, my friends. Uzumaki Naruto will never abandon you, though some of you may abandon me. Whatever kindness you have given me in my short life will be returned tenfold, and I shall hold you forever in my thoughts. But those who have ran to the darkness will no longer receive my mercy. My compassion, yes, my pity, yes, but no longer my mercy. Kami, have mercy on your soul, Sasuke, Orochimaru, because I surely will not. And the shadow of the fox grew smaller still. Outside of Naruto's mind, in the waking world, his hammer was reacting to its wielder's dream. It seemed to hum happily, ecstatic that its owner had come to a conclusion that was to its liking. Starting by the hand that held it, the hammer began to change. Its leather thong became thicker and plusher, more defined, and had intricate designs seemingly burned into it. The magical transformation crept up the handle, turning the dull gray steel a dark black, with a white flame design licking up the side all the way to the head. The gold bands widened until they encompassed the head of the hammer like a cocoon. Slowly, cracks began to show until it burst, revealing the newly transformed war hammer. The body of the hammer was a pure white with intricate gold designs snaking around it, making it look like the holy weapon it was. The bands were gone, nowhere to be seen. On top of the hammer sat a large spike, as black as night, that reflected no light. The ends of the hammer remained flat, but around the edge of the ends was a sort of powder substance that shimmered in the light of the dawn. On either side of the hammer was the yin-yang symbol with the fox's shape instead of the dot. It was upon this scene that Tenten stumbled. She had seen Naruto around town with the massive hunk of metal but hadn't had the time to ask him about it. She loved all weaponry, and seeing someone with such a rare weapon as a warhammer was a treat. Surely Naruto wasn't taking up the use of such a weapon, especially one so massive. She wasn't sure if he could even swing it. She had come early that morning to get started on her training and found a knocked out Naruto. She had meant to wake him up but instead became entranced by the show his hammer put on. Surely, this was an enchanted weapon, the likes of which she had never seen and may never see again. He wouldn't notice, she'd just sneak up real quick and examine it, before waking him up and sending him on his way. She looked over the hammer and was enthralled by its design. The coloring of it was too mystical to be man-made, and the shimmering around its edges was unnatural as well. She slid her finger over the powder-looking surface and felt her finger cut open. She pulled the digit back and looked at it in the dawning light. Blood. She inspected the powder closer and nearly gasped. It was diamond dust, with bits of diamond jutting here and there. If he connected with this hammer it would shred whatever it touched, if they got over being hit with the juggernaut of a weapon. Through examining the momentary object of her interest, she turned her gaze to Naruto, intent on waking him up. She couldn't do it. She just sat there, drinking up his looks. He had grown so much and had seen so much battle, and yet as he lay there, she thought she had never seen anyone look more innocent. She took in everything from how his hair blew barely in the small breeze to how his whisker marks had deepened over the years. She smiled when she saw his mouth slightly open and could see the elongated fangs whenever his nose twitched, lifting his upper lip. He looked so animalistic and yet so tame. She nearly giggled to herself, thinking about how such a formidable ninja could be such a teddy bear outside of battle. He could take down S-class nin without blinking an eye, and yet Sakura could pound his ass into the ground without trying. He simply refused to hurt anyone he considered a friend. She scowled, thinking of the Uchiha. That's probably why they've never caught him. Naruto simply can't bring himself to harm the bastard. She leaned over him to wake him and found herself staring into his deep blue eyes. Her breath hitched and she nearly gasped. She had never really noticed how blue and beautiful they were. Coupled with that smile of his, she nearly melted in her shoes. She damn near overheated, blushing, however, when he looked at her with half-lidded eyes and gave her a small grin. Wow, Kami is so good to me. I get a hammer and a pretty angel as gifts. I'm truly blessed. Tenten passed out from a blood rush to the head, with a smile on her face. To be treated so romantically by my own imagination. Thought Tenten. No one had ever said anything like that to her before. She was always viewed as a tomboy. Too bad the blonde angel in her dream hadn't been real. If he was, she'd give anything to get to know him better. Somewhere, Far away, she heard her name being called and she didn't want to answer the call. She wanted to stay with the blonde angel. No, don't make me get up yet. 10. Hey Tenten. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend or anything. Please wake up. Tenten opened her eyes slowly, letting the light filter in as slowly as possible. She still had the image of the blonde angel on her eyelids, and as her brown eyes blossomed openward, that image was becoming more and more solid until she was staring him in the face. She blinked and rubbed her eyes and he was still there. Not thinking before she said anything, she said the first thing to come to mind. Seems Kami answered my prayer. The blonde angel is still here. Now it was Naruto's turn to blush, but he didn't faint. He had far too much willpower for that. He instead opted to change the subject. So, what are you doing here so early, Tenten? I came to train early, but I found you lying here instead. I watched your hammer change. Is it enchanted? No, it's a holy hammer. It will change over time to suit my soul, I've been told. A man named Sanosuke gave it to me and told me to use it for Kami's will. Well, that's cool. Do you know how to use it? No. I'm supposed to find a certain someone to teach me how to use it, but I haven't found her yet. You're getting a woman to teach you. I don't think there are too many people besides Tsunade-sama who could pick up that thing, and even then none use hammers. I'm the weapons mistress of Konoha and I don't even know how to wield hammers properly. Well, I'm actually supposed to get a certain someone to teach me Kenjutsu, and Sanosuke said it would help me use the hammer correctly. I just have to find someone. I could teach you. I'm one of the best swordsmen in the village. Oh no, I couldn't impose on you. No matter how much my heart tells me yes, tells me yes. Oh, it's no problem. I don't mind at all. It's no trouble. Please say yes, please say yes. I would suggest you say yes, Naruto. The young lady looks like she can become quite insistent and persuasive. Yeah, you're probably right, Sanosuke. What are you doing here? Sanosuke smirked and folded his arms. The boy's soulmate sat in front of him and he had yet to realize it. Oh well, that was a teasing for another day. Right now he had to inspect the boy's new hammer. He picked it up and spun it this way and that. Very impressive. The boy's soul was indeed a wondrous thing. No telling how far this hammer would evolve. He'd never seen a holy weapon take on such a look or form. This was, after all, the first holy hammer he'd ever seen. Very good, Naruto. You've unlocked the first of many forms for your hammer. I applaud you for the way your soul reflects on it. Beautiful and yet sly. Judging from the diamond dust around the edge, it signifies your diamond in the rough status. You are a rare gem waiting to be discovered and shown to the world. I commend you yet again. Wow, thought both Naruto and Tenten, that was poetic. Now then, Naruto, I need to give you your second gift. Come. Stand before me and clear your mind. Naruto stepped forward cautiously and did his best to clear his mind, thinking of nothing. Sanosuke put his hands to Naruto's temples and began his task of giving the boy his gift. He watched as Naruto gritted his teeth and bit back a scream, his facial features contorting and his whisker marks and teeth flicking back and forth between demonic and normal. After several moments, Naruto fell back onto the ground panting and Sanosuke stood as if nothing passed. Tenten looked back and forth from one man to the other. What did you do to him? Sanosuke smiled at his young charge's unacknowledged soulmate and tapped his forehead. I just gave him his second gift from Kami. Call it a jumpstart of his cognitive abilities. Now he shouldn't be so likely to jump into things without thinking. And maybe, just maybe, he'll see the pretty girl in front of him for what she really is. Make sure he stays out of trouble when he wakes up, okay? Bye-bye. Without a sound, Sanosuke vanished from this world. Tenten stood in awe as the man had gone without a swirl of leaves or a puff of smoke. He just vanished, and it wasn't speed. She looked back down at Naruto and blushed again. Damn him for looking so handsome. Deciding to get this over with, she shook his shoulders and for the second time that day watched as his eyes opened. She gasped and held him by the shoulders, looking deeply into his eyes, while he blinked and looked at her like she was crazy. Tenten. Not that I mind being held down by a pretty girl, but can you let me up? What do you find so interesting in my eyes anyway? Tenten reached over to her pack and pulled out a mirror and held it up to his eyes. He inspected his eyes for all of 2 seconds and dropped the mirror before picking it up again. What the hell did he do to my eyes? I don't know, but they're more beautiful than ever. Naruto stared at her with wide eyes. He had been told before that he had nice eyes, but he thought the people were just being that nice. Now here was a pretty, no, a beautiful kunoichi telling him that his eyes were beautiful. He looked into the mirror one last time and was dumbstruck by the reflection. His eyes were still blue, but now they had 4 silver stars around the iris that seemed to shine with an ethereal glow. He handed the mirror back to Tenten and felt the tightness in his chest again when her hand brushed his. He remembered Sanosuke's words from days earlier and gave her a small smile. You know what, Tenten? If that offer to teach me Kenjutsu still stands, I'll take you up on it. Tenten merely nodded her head, but on the inside she was doing a victory dance. A chance to train someone in a new weapon and ogle them at the same time. Life was good. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.